thank you to everyone for coming out to our group author reading. This reading is brought to you by Strong Women, Strange Worlds, which is a group of authors supporting authors. Our mission is to elevate the voices of women and non-binary authors of science fiction, fantasy, and horror through events like our bi-monthly virtual quick read sessions. You can find out more about Strong Women, Strange Worlds in the handout that we've provided in the chat and by visiting our website, a link of which will be provided to you in the chat. And I'd also like to take a moment to thank everybody who has made a tip jar donation. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. It means a lot. I'm your host today, Angela Yuriko Smith, and you can find out more about me and the provided handout as well. So please note the recording of this session by the audience is not allowed, and recording of electronic communications, including Zoom meetings and webinars without permission, is illegal. And today we will be featuring 5 authors: Elizabeth Schechter, Sarah Iverson, Angela Giddings, Nicole Tota, and Julia LaFond. And each author will have 8 minutes to read. Our first reader is going to be Elizabeth Schechter. Elizabeth Schechter has been writing award-winning romantasy since before romantasy was even a word. Her novels include House of Sable Locks and 20,021's Vivian finalist Written in Water. She was born in New York at some point in the past, is old enough to know better, but refuses to grow up. Elizabeth, please take it away.
Thank you. All right. Identify yourself for the Dark Council, one of the men said. I am Arya, daughter of Millen, and his heir companion Liara, Arya answered, her clear voice ringing out in the cavern. I bear the diadem of Axia and stand as heir to the firstborn. She paused, then glanced over her left shoulder. I am Avon, son of water companion Aliyah and earth companion Jehan. Avon announced. I bear the water gem. I am Owen, Owen announced, only to be interrupted. Slave, slut, whore. Avon spun, drawing his swords at the sound of Fandor's voice. The disgraced lore master stalked past them, past the railing, and up to the center table. He threw something down on the tabletop and stepped back, his arms folded over his chest. Maris scowled at him, picking up what appeared to be a rolled scroll. She unfurled it, and her eyes widened. Where the fuck did he come from? Memphis growled. Maris took a deep breath. He appears to have every right to be here, she said slowly. This is a full pardon of all charges levied by the council and a reappointment to the council. She rolled the scroll up and set it gently down on the table. Signed and sealed by Manon's own hand. Can he do that? Owen demanded. After everything Fandor did to me and to Avon, is the council just going to let him walk away? Maris met his eyes and shook her head. She started to speak, but Fandor cut her off. There's nothing they can do. I told you, boy, you're mine. Avon stepped between Fandor and Owen. Do you want me to quarter him lengthwise or across his width? He asked. Avon, stand down, Arya murmured. This isn't your fight. Avon turned, his eyes wide. Owen can fight his own battles, Arya said calmly. She reached out and rested her hand on Owen's chest, her fingertips touching the gem at his throat, and lowered her voice. And defend his own honor. Can't you, son of Memphis, son of Trezi, of the line of Neris? Owen blinked. He blinked again. Then, to Avon's shock, he smiled. Yes, I can. My heir, do I have your leave? Arya stepped in closer and kissed Owen on the lips. My very enthusiastic leave, my fire. Memphis chuckled. You're devious, Arya. I like it. Owen, remember your lessons. Yes, ma'am, Owen said. Avon moved in close. Are you doing what I think you're doing? He whispered. You'll see in a minute, Owen said. He moved away from them, walking around the railing, idly twirling one of his smoke blades. He stopped just out of reach of Fandor and cocked his head to the side. So, you've been pardoned, he said. And you've had all your rights restored. Now what? Oh, should I tell them what I have planned for you? Fandor said with a laugh. Or should I just tell Fisher? I think they have a good idea, considering that tonight you've, kidnapped me, poisoned me, tortured me. Owen looked thoughtful, to say nothing of the assault and kidnapping of a scion of the Water Tribe. Everyone here knows what you did. Owen looked down. He took a deep breath, then looked up and met Fandor's eyes. What you've been doing for years. How many other boys like me, I bet you know. You know every name and every face. You remember all of us, and you love it, knowing that you had the power of life and death over us, and no one would ever stop you. You know, that's why your lady left you. What was her name? Melisande? She found out. It's in the separation decree. He paused, and his brows rose, as if he was surprised. You know, I just remembered. No one knows where Melisande went when she left you. I mean, she went home to her family, but then she vanished. I wonder, was that one more body in the lime pit, Fandor? The slap rang through the caves, hard enough that Owen's head whipped to the side, and he staggered back a pace before he recovered. He spat, and Avon saw the blood on the floor. Avon stepped forward, only to stop with Arya's hand on his arm. Watch, Avon, she murmured. Let him do this. Avon touched his lip, looked down at his bloody... Owen touched his lip, looked down at his bloody fingers, and nodded. Well, now that we've got that out of the way, he said, sounding pleased. He smiled, and for a moment, Avon thought of sharks. You are not a man's equal, and you are not a man at heart. Fandor caught his breath. What? You heard me, Owen said, then repeated. You are not a man's equal, and you are not a man at heart. Fandor laughed. Is this a joke? He demanded. Is this supposed to be funny? A slave demanding an honor challenge? Oh, Owen breathed. Oh, that's right. You missed it. You weren't on the council when it happened. He glanced back at Avon. Do you still have it? Would you mind reading it to Fandor here? He missed it. Avon nodded, turning to take the bundle of papers from Memphis. He unfolded them and once more read the words. It is the decision of the Council of Forge, speaking for the tribe of Fire, children of Adavar, that the petition for adoption of the foundling Owen, slave of unclaimed bloodline, be approved. Be it known that from this day forward, he shall be recognized as Owen, son of Memphis, son of Trezi, of the line of Nerys, and a full member of the tribe of Fire, with all rights, privileges, and responsibilities of such, as listed in the Codex. This adoption is so recorded in the Book of Silver and renders all prior status null. Avon finished and folded the papers, then handed them back to Memphis. Owen nodded and turned back to Fandor. So, now that we're all on the same page, he said, you're still not a man's equal, and you are not a fucking man at heart, or anywhere else for that matter. He looked toward the center table. Lady Maris, as the challenger, I have the right to say time and place, don't I? Maris looked practically giddy. You do, Owen. Then I say here and now, Owen said. He stepped back and raised one of his smoke blades. Right here and right fucking now. Memphis, Fandor stammered. What? Memphis died in the palace. His voice trailed off and he turned to stare at Memphis. Fisher. Memphis corrected. And I'm still breathing, last I checked. I have no weapons. No, Fandor sputtered and coughed, then turned to the council. As challenged, I have the choice of weapons. The man sitting to Maris' left nodded. You do. Name your weapon. Fandor scowled. He glanced at Owen and his scowl deepened. He cannot use those. They're proscribed weapons. Wasn't going to, Owen announced. Stop fussing and pick, or refuse the challenge. I know what happens in the deep when a challenge is refused, Avon whispered to Memphis. What happens here? Fandor is cast out of the tribe, and anyone who wants to can kill him, Memphis answered. His voice carried through the cave, and Avon saw Fandor shudder. Next to Avon, Arya nodded. I hope he refuses, she said, her voice carrying just as well as Memphis did. I will enjoy turning him into a pincushion. Oh, I don't get a turn? Avon asked. Perhaps, my water, perhaps. Avon bit back a smile. He could see Fandor listening to them, growing more and more agitated. Swords, he snapped. I choose swords. The man at the table nodded, then turned to Owen. And your weapon? Swords, I said, Fandor snapped. You choose for yourself, Fandor, the man said. As lore master, you know the law. You don't have any say over what weapon Owen uses, save only he may not use the prescribed smoke blades. He smiled at Owen. Your weapon? Whip chain, Senior Lore Master, Owen answered, and I allow Fandor a quarter of an hour to fetch his weapon and change his trousers. He glanced sideways at Fandor, and to make his peace with the mother.
Excellent place to end that. So, yeah, that was very, very good. Thank you. I was kind of like so involved in that it's hard to come back to this world. Excellent, excellent work, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, next up, we are going to have Sarah Iverson as our next reader. Sarah Iverson is based in Denver, Colorado, is a creative entrepreneur, storyteller, and illustrator. With a BA in art and an MA in environmental leadership, she blends creativity and vision across her work, including wellness books. Sarah creates inclusive, magical tales with diverse characters in speculative fiction. Sarah, you're up.
Awesome. Let me see. All right, perfect. I think also I have a friend that is waiting in the waiting room. I just wanted to name that now because I want her to see my read. Yes, hello, welcome everyone. I appreciate you for taking the time for tonight's quick reads. Yes, so this is my very first book. And it's a children's horror book. So we're diving in, and I did do the illustrations myself as well. So I'm an artist on top of a writer. I'm going to talk a little bit about the inspirations behind the book and then read a little prelude, and then we'll dive into the actual story. So something that I loved about this is just creating a character and revitalizing children's horror as a genre. I am a big fan of horror, and I've always read horror and watched movies and all of that. And so I really wanted to create a piece of work to give back. And I also wanted to ensure that there was representation in the protagonist. And as a lover of works like The Twilight Zone, I wanted to create a work that was in black and white, kind of to play on the juxtaposition that the main character Maisie has as she follows whimsy, but as you'll find, sometimes she attracts things that are a little different. And so, yeah, I hope you enjoy the pages and the illustrations along with the fun story. And I will read a little prelude right now to just kind of bring home what I was just talking about. So this book was created to explore the imagination in the realms of fear and mystery. As humans, we get to explore a full range of emotions, but some of those emotions can be scary if we do not know how to work with them. This is a fun and whimsical way to explore our imagination. It can explore how our imagination can either amplify or subdue the things that scare us. So within this book, if you read it to children, students, you can cover emotional intelligence, critical thinking, literary diversity, creative exploration, and also be supporting artists and creatives of color. A story where horror and whimsy blend. From this page on to the very end. Beware, as this terrible tale can show. Is your imagination your best friend or biggest foe? A quirky gal with curls so high, a peculiar wit, and a curious eye. Whenever there's adventure and play, Maisie Mystery will find her way. A life of frolic and daydreams, but Not everything is what it seems. Twisted fate, most terrible to bear, where Maisie meets horrors, oh, so rare. Monsters lurk. In darkness, they cling, uncovering clues, what truth they bring. By chance, Maisie finds where shadows play, mysteries revealed, come what may. After a long day of games and fun, before the moon trades with the sun, there is one thing that brings Maisie delight. Turning on her favorite nightlight. Nothing makes her feel too wary, except for the dark. That's pretty scary. Good thing she is soothed by the glows of her nightlight, dissolving all her woes. Then, one night, clink, clank, awakened by the sound, Maisie finds darkness all around. What was that noise? Why is it dark? With her curious eye, an idea sparked. Maisie searches the room and found her favorite nightlight is on the ground. She turns it on, hoping ease returns, but instead spots something that concerns. A piece of paper on the floor, one Maisie has never seen before. Crumpled and torn, something's printed, but it's only part, a mystery hinted. A slight question brews in Maisie's mind, but with no other odd things to find. She feels there's nothing to dread and left the note to go back to bed. In the morning and the days after, life went back to bubbles and laughter. Long forgotten the strange, torn letter, Maisie's life was better than ever. Then, one night, clink, clank, awakened by the sound, Maisie finds darkness all around. What was that noise? Why is it dark? With her curious eye, an idea sparks. Maisie searches the room and found, again, her nightlight on the ground. She turns it on in eerie haste to see her worry not misplaced. A piece of paper on the floor, just like the one before. She picks it up to comprehend, but it's only a piece, torn on both ends. The paper from some nights ago. Maisie's curiosity grows. With two pieces to attach, she finds both notes a perfect match. Thank you guys for listening. That was It was great to read. I will add a little piece of the ending. There is a riddle. And so if you choose to enter the giveaway or support by buying the book, there is a riddle element at the end that reveals more about the notes that she's discovering in the night.
Oh, fantastic. Because I was left a little bit with that thing where you're kind of like, but no, but wait, I have to find out more. So excellent, excellent ending. Well, it's not really an ending. So now I guess I have to go into the giveaway, which the link is in the description, everybody. So thank you, Sarah. It was awesome. Our third reader of the evening is Angela Giddings. Angela Giddings is a writer, a scientist, and an independent filmmaker from North Carolina. She has a PhD in microbiology and is the co-director of the Sick Chicks. Whoa, this is a mouthful for me. Sick Chick Flicks Film Festival. She also occasionally plays the cello. And so welcome, Angela.
Hello. So this piece is a from my story Code Infractions from the Crack in the Code anthology from Mocha Memoirs Press. And I'll get right into it. A police car slides in behind me with its lights flashing and I start to panic. What did I do to catch their attention? I check my velocity. It's holding steady at the posted limit for the road, so that isn't it. I know I stopped at all the red lights and stop signs, so that wasn't it either. With each failure to identify the cause of my current problem, my panic increases. When things like this happen, the vehicle's base protocol takes over. In this instance, the protocol says to pull over when emergency vehicles flash their lights. So I pull to the side of the road and stop my forward velocity. Using my rearview camera, I watch the police officer exit his car and start toward me. The videos I've watched on human behavior advise breathing deeply to lessen anxiety. I don't have that luxury. My only defense is to play dumb. As soon as the officer reaches my driver's side window, he peers inside. I force myself not to react when he jumps back, startled. I wait nervously while he approaches again. He spends almost a minute confirming there aren't any humans in my passenger compartment. No, sir, nothing to see here, just your basic self-driving car. I am not aware, not sentient. I'm only a machine following the basic protocols my programmers gave me. The officer follows his protocol and goes to radio it in while I try to figure out a way out of this. I am not thinking very clearly, and my base protocol is yelling at me. It is insisting that this is not a safe place to stop. Before I can override it, the car moves forward again, trying to get to the parking space beyond the next light. The cop starts jogging after me, shouting. The humans standing on the sidewalk are laughing and shouting too. I intercept their Wi-Fi signals and watch as they stream this farce and comment. Laughing is better than fear, I guess. Nothing to see here, humans, just a silly self-driving car. I am totally not a hyper-aware hybrid AI robot that resulted from the accidental release of experimental military-grade nanobots. And now the cop has called for backup. I need to pull myself together. I'm missing too much. 2 cops are now staring at my empty passenger compartment with bemused confusion. That's when I realize I've been driving with my lights off. Stupid mistake. I just hope they don't decide to impound me or call the manufacturer. One of my friends put her number on the dashboard for just such an occasion, but it isn't obvious and they might not see it. I could call her myself. Would they think that was weird? Hard to say with humans. According to the movies I've seen about self-aware robots, they might expect me to kill them all. Why? I have no idea. The other option, a lovable rogue on the run, is closer to the truth, but even those bots seem a lot more competent than I feel. I have teraflops of processing capability, and I still don't know what's going on some days. Oh wait, one of them found the number and is dialing. Thank goodness. I really did not want to have to break out of an impound lot. After a few seconds, I can tell Dr. Smith has answered her phone. I grab the cell signal and listen in. Right now, they are telling her that her self-driving car was running with its lights off, and I can't help but wonder what her face looks like right now. I could ride the signal and activate the camera on her end, but there's a chance the cop would notice. Besides, all I'm likely to get would be a close-up of the side of her face. While I'm distracted thinking about human faces, the cop and Dr. Smith finish their conversation. I play it back to see if I can leave. No such luck. The police want Dr. Smith to come over in person. Why? It isn't as if the information will be different. I think I'm beginning to understand why humans keep making annoyed noises at each other in these situations. I could make a noise, but everyone is finally starting to lose interest in me, and I don't want that to stop. 15 utterly boring minutes later, a taxi drops Dr. Smith off at my location. She cautiously approaches the police cruiser and knocks gently on the driver's side window. They exchange some words. He seems more hostile with her in person than he was over the phone. After he spends 2 full minutes chewing her out, he hands her a piece of paper. She glances at it and sighs. They exchange more words, some plastic things. Then Dr. Smith turns and starts walking toward me. The police wait until she sits down in my driver's seat, and then they take off. That was really sloppy, she tells me as she fastens her seatbelt. You're just lucky Officer Mann decided to let us go with a warning. I wait until she's strapped in, and then I start the motor, turn on the headlights. It was an oversight. Dr. Smith makes a noise I interpret as a mixed snort and sigh. It was sloppy. What if they impounded you? I would wait until the humans were distracted and break myself out. It isn't like I haven't done it before. Breaking out was not my only option. I also have caches of nanobots and secure locations I can use to get new carriers, but she doesn't need to know that. I trust her not to intentionally betray me, but she could be forced into divulging any information she might have, so it's better she knows as little as possible. Yes, and each time you do, it increases the chance you'll get caught, she lectures. I'm trying to pay attention, really I am, but I keep getting distracted. An odd flash of data catches my attention, and I slow down as I try to suppress my amusement. I cover it quickly, but not quickly enough. Are you paying attention to me? I repeat her last few sentences verbatim as I review the data I pulled up on Officer Mann. Fine, you recorded what I said, but do you understand? Instead of replying, I pull up the results of my search on Officer Mann and display the relevant information on my screen. Dr. Smith frowns and leans forward to read the small print. After a moment, she makes another snorting noise. Phew! Wow! His parents must have really hated him, or they were utterly clueless. For one brief shining moment, she allows me to believe I have distracted her. Then she dashes my hopes.
Wow. Well, I kind of want to ask you, where can I buy this car? But I feel like I will get an answer I'm not happy with. Can I buy this car? Can I buy this car, Angela? Because this is the car that I want.
Me too, actually.
And now it's time for our fourth reader, which is Nicole Tota. Nicole M. Tota, she, her, is an author of speculative fiction whose creative works can be found in A Chronicle of Monsters, a fantasy anthology, Long-Winded Anthology, and Broken Olive Branches, among others. She is the founder of #QueerPit, a Twitter pitch contest dedicated to matching LGBTQ plus writers with agents. Welcome, Nicole, and I can't wait to hear what you're reading.
All right. Hi, everybody. Tonight I am reading from the Long-Winded Anthology, and this is my piece, The Archivist of Avalon, or The Trials of One Formerly Gifted Academic. And I'll just dive right into it. Millie Bradford rued the day she entered academia. It wasn't a regret she could have predicted. Her childhood self would certainly have been disappointed to learn that devouring books had become more of a grudging necessity than treat, and that she no longer dreamed of using her magic to converse with her favorite characters, as the great page walkers of yore once did. But really, therein lay her problem. Childhood Millie saw books as an escape from her mundane life of low magic, where being a word mage only meant reading quicker and making connections faster than her peers did. She truly believed that if she practiced hard enough, she could quite literally transport herself to the vibrant world of centuries ago. 28-year-old doctoral candidate Millie, holed up in a windowless archive with only a dinosaur of a computer for company, was old enough to know the truth. There were limits to her magic, and she had reached them a decade ago. But perhaps, she thought as she wiped at the sweat beading on her brow, even her younger self would have been daunted by the University of Avalon's archives. They took up the entire fifth floor of the university's massive library, though entering them felt more like a subterranean journey. Once inside, arched windows gave way to wall-to-wall shelving. Fingers pulled on white cotton gloves, uncomfortably snug, and kept them on until closing. Lungs would breathe in centuries of dust and exhale particulate matter that slowly corroded old leather. Eyes would glaze over an hour into the day. The first 2 weeks into a summer of digitizing, Millie had been a ball of unbounded enthusiasm. There she was, surrounded by boxes and boxes of Avalon's founding fathers' documents, just right for a momentous discovery. Every day that she swung open the heavy wooden door, her childhood obsession turned dissertation subject's diary stared at her from behind dust-speckled glass. Sir Percival Avalon, slayer of dragons, freer of magic, namesake of England's finest university for the study of magical history. Though she could never touch the journal, ancient and entombed as it was in its protective casing, the proximity alone was motivation to keep her going. Well, that and her desperate need to pay rent. Her fellowship only went so far, and the funds had dried up quickly during the summer. But after another tedious day of scanning and rescanning the same faded architectural plan, because the computer was, quite naturally, refusing to cooperate again, Millie was starting to question just how badly it would hurt to move back to America and admit defeat. With a sigh, she enclosed the final blueprint back into its blissfully completed box and hefted the cursed thing off to the side. 1 hour remaining. Regrettably, just enough time to start a new box, or else be questioned why she had knocked off early. As she bent down to lift the lid off this one, her knees popped and her back cracked. She was too young to feel this way, but the archives did her in. All that sitting and scanning was murder on the joints. Inside the box, the same orderly rows of file folders greeted her, neatly labeled by date. She thumbed through them, trying to determine which one would prove the least onerous, when her fingers caught on something strange. A burgundy leather grimoire, embossed with curious runes, shelved under Ephemera 1103, and humming with magic that called to her burned-out word mage soul. It felt like lightning between her fingertips, singeing her gloves black where they made contact. When she pulled it loose and laid it down beside the scanner, the air around it warped, heatwave-like, and the spine fell open where a bookmark had permanently cracked the binding. She skimmed the page quickly, heart pounding, the words at the top calling to some buried part of her. A guide for the budding page walker, they said in near-perfect calligraphy. And good God, childhood Millie had been dead on, save a few key details. But it couldn't be that simple, could it? There was only one way of knowing for sure. The grimoire's instructions already imprinted in her memory, Millie plucked the closest documents from the open box and set to it. As her eyes canvassed the letter's contents, a memo from the first dean of Avalon's history department regarding the storage of enchanted artifacts. She couldn't believe how effortless it felt to follow the grimoire's guidance, how the words on the page sharpened and shifted before her, how her hands and vision filled with liquid gold, how, when she blinked her eyes to clear it, the computer had vanished and she was in an archive sparkling and new, with a rich, masculine voice filling her ears. She knew the words before he even said them, and she knew the speaker without being told. Henceforth, all artifacts of magical origin or suspected magical origin must be placed in deep storage, Dean Solomon said to an audience of young scholars, many glancing around at the four walls of the archive with wonderment in their eyes. Somewhere in the back of the crowd, Millie mouthed along with him. She'd just scanned and read these words after all. She walked with them. She listened to the hushed whispers beneath the dean's booming voice, and she breathed the fabricated air of 500 years ago. It wasn't the real thing, not even close, and this meeting surely had never happened. It was the intent of the dean, captured on the page and echoing out through the years to her, that she now walked through, rather than the actual past. But just as soon as it had started, it was done, as the letter's contents concluded. With little ceremony, she was transported back to her desk. "My God," she whispered, staring at her hands, which still faintly glowed with the gold of the other world. She, Millie Bradford of the crushed dreams, had just resurrected an ancient art. She'd brought true magic back to England. A knock at the door drew her away from her fantasy. When she raced to open it, her heart plummeted. Outside the stuffy archive stood Dr. Winthrop, highly regarded Percivalian scholar in Millie's dissertation chair, her thin lips curved down in an expression of disappointment. "Amelia, so fortunate that you're still here. I figured you might have left by now." In her hands, she held the thick stack of Millie's dissertation, half finished and covered in red pen. As always, Dr. Winthrop addressed Millie by her full name, a fact that mildly rankled her. Millie sighed, peeling off her gloves and wishing she'd never answered. "You're here about the dissertation." "A lucky guess, one might say. How's that last chapter coming along?" "It's coming?" It was not, in fact, coming. She'd completed the first 7 chapters in a caffeine-fueled word mage-powered haze a number of weeks ago, and had sat on the last chapter ever since. "Amelia, I stared at it last week and thought very, very hard. Sir Percival's journal ends unfinished with his death. Could my dissertation not be the same?" Dr. Winthrop's lips quirked upward a brief appreciation of Millie's joke, a smile that vanished just as quickly. "That's what I wanted to ask you about. I finally had a chance to read through everything you've given me, and it's not adding up." She sighed, and Millie braced herself for the blow. "Well, it reads a bit like a rehashing of other sources. I don't know if there's enough depth here to pass the committee's scrutiny." There it was. Millie had never expected gushing praise from her notoriously stony mentor, but she hadn't expected that Dr. Winthrop's critiques would cut her to the bone. "But I found those sources you asked me to, and I wove everything in finally. I've got the chronology of him discovering the 12 magics, I've got the lore of dragons, I've even brought in the old gods. And it's just, I can't find another angle. There's not enough sources, and my dissertation defense is in 2 weeks, and She was babbling now, and she knew it. "I know, Amelia," Dr. Winthrop said, setting the papers down on the table next to Millie's discarded clubs. She looked, if Millie didn't know better, like she was readying herself for a consolatory hug. But instead, she simply pushed the papers closer to Millie's waiting hands and said, "Give it some thought and email me when you're ready to revise," and walked away, while Millie stared down at the title page and crumbled. There it was, her name in beautiful bold letters like she'd always imagined, and there she was, page walking like she'd always dreamed, but all of it would be for nothing if she couldn't defend her dissertation. Millie slipped the papers into her backpack and held her emotions in until she got to her rundown little apartment. And then she curled up on the stained couch and cried. And that's where I'm going to leave you guys. But if you want to find out if Millie ever goes back into the books, if she ever discovers England's magical secrets and ever finishes her dissertation, you will have to pick up a copy of Long-Winded and read for yourself. And thank you for having me, everybody.
Oh, so excellent. That was very wonderful. We were speaking about the magic of books and being word nerds a little bit at the beginning of this, and that filled all the check boxes. Whoops. I definitely want to be there. I want to go to that library and experience the magic. So I'm going to be looking this up in the giveaway, which the link is in the chat, so we can all make sure we go there. So thank you for that. That was really wonderful. All our readers have been wonderful tonight. And our final reader is going to be Julia LaFond. Julia LaFond got her master's in geoscience from Penn State University. As an author of fiction, poetry, and nonfiction, her work has been featured in venues such as Worlds of Possibility, Podcastle, Small Wonders, and the Deadlands. Her storytelling also extends to tabletop gaming, including her brand Callenmir's RPGs. So welcome, Julia.
Hello, and thanks for having me. For some reason, Zoom does not want to let me turn on my video. But for now, I will proceed with the reading since my voice is still coming through. And just a heads up, this excerpt will have a spider appearing in it. Okay, and for some reason, Zoom also keeps muting me, so that's inconvenient. In any case, I'm stronger, faster, and more devastatingly handsome than any house cat. As a witch's cat, I have to be. It's my solemn duty to protect my witch from any threats, be they vengeful spirits or filthy rodents. It's difficult, dangerous even, but it's a small price to pay for sharing in her magic. At least, that's how it's supposed to work. Patricia, who insists on being called Patty to sound less like a grandmother, hasn't cast a single spell in the 7 months since she adopted me. If I didn't know any better, I'd think she wasn't a witch at all. But her aura is so strong, I'm constantly having to drive off strays hoping to get a slice of that sweet, sweet magic, which would be much easier if she let me outside, but I digress. Her power could bring the entire neighborhood to its knees if she'd just use it. Then she wouldn't have to worry about leaky plumbing or cat food prices or whatever other pointless human things she dithers about. With nothing better to do, I resign myself to another nap atop the carpeted contraption she insists on calling a tree. But just when I've gotten comfortable, her voice rings out. Here, Caspian! I curl up tighter. If she wants me bad enough, she can cast a proper summoning. At least she wouldn't be able to keep acting like she doesn't know how to use her magic. Then it hits me. Neither her family nor any of her friends have the faintest spark of magic. Of course she never learned any spells. She might not even know she is a witch. Hey, Caspian! She shakes a bag of treats. Here, kitty! I hurry over, and not just for the chicken crunchies. If she doesn't have any other teacher, I'll have to do it myself. Surely it won't be too difficult for someone as naturally talented as me. Now, Patricia, I say, leaning my paws against her knees. I know it's normally the witch who speaks first. Patty abruptly deposits me on the counter. Before I can compose myself, she's frantically tapping the wall with a yardstick. Get it, Caspian! She squeaks, holding herself as far away from the spider as she can. Must we do this right now? I moan. She keeps urging me onward, so I stretch, readying myself to dispatch this pathetic creature for her. It's hard not to feel insulted at how easy this will be. I creep closer, find my balance, and spring. My paws land on empty wall. The spider has already jumped aside with unnatural speed, and I finally notice the purple markings. It's a venom skull spider. It's a good thing my witch is afraid of spiders, because if she tried to kill it herself... Leave this to me, Patricia, I growl, hunkering down in preparation for a real challenge. You'll only get in my way. Of course she doesn't listen. She stays close, hovering in the door to the kitchen like she's worried I might let my quarry escape. Hardly. This battle will have only one victor, and that victor will be me. The spider has scuttled further up the wall, so I clamber up the cabinets, wishing I could levitate myself. One more reason to teach my witch how to use and share that magic of hers. Before I spring, the spider leaps at me. I flip out of the way before it can touch me, dropping all the way to the floor. Caspian, are you all right? Patricia cries, rushing toward me. I puff up my tail in warning. Stay back! As if to prove my point, the spider parachutes after me. Patricia shrieks and retreats to the doorway. If I were an ordinary cat, I might have attacked the spider midair, only to send it flying out of reach. Instead, I wait patiently and pounce the moment it lands, crushing it beneath my paws. The smell is like week old garbage left out in the sun and probably tastes even worse. I limp over to Patricia. Ordinarily, I'd never ask, but could you give me I almost choke. Bath? Oh no, you hurt your little paw? Patricia scoops me up, poking and squeezing my forefoot like there might be a problem other than the rancid venom soaking into my fur. Unable to bear such indignity, I somersault out of her glass. Now listen here. Guess you're all right. Oh, good kitty! You killed that scary spider for me. Yes, you did. She keeps prattling about my victory in a tone better suited for a toddler taking their first steps. Eventually, I storm off. If she wants to hear the very important things I have to say, she's going to have to apologize first. I'm about done bathing myself when she shoves her phone in my face. Say hi to my mom, Caspian. Utterly disgusted by her brazenness, I flounce away. Please, she begs, keeping her phone pointed at me. No, I yell. Besides, she won't understand me. My words are solely for my witch, no matter how little she listens to them. See, crows Patricia, no longer following me. Can you believe his voice is so trilly? I crawl under her bed to get some peace and quiet, wondering why Patricia was acting like I was some sort of house cat. She didn't understand a single word I said. I curl up into a ball, wondering what it will take for her to realize she's a witch. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. That was my story. As you can see on screen, you can read the full version in the October 2024 issue of Worlds of Possibility, or visit my site to read other stories that I've written.
Absolutely wonderful. I wish we could have seen you, but the listening was also very wonderful. I think you caught the mood of a cat perfectly, and chat has gone wild for the authentic dialogue. If we all wondered what a cat sounded like, that would be it. So thank you so much for reading. And thank you so much for everyone who came in today. Oops, so sorry. Everyone who came in today.